Up, the need for speed. We take you flying in a Ta4 fighter, and hey, you could have one of your own.
Something may be backwards in some Pipers, and Santa Monica is at it again.
And we show you what it takes to get your feet wet in an airplane. AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment.
Build and flying with the Sonex aircraft B models. The B models offer more room and comfort, more fuel, more panel space, more engine choices, and the same great Sonex aircraft flight characteristics. Learn more at sonexaircraft.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
Feel the need for speed? Many do. Maybe that's why Tom Cruise, a pilot himself, is making a sequel to Top Gun.
And many pilots dream of flying a fighter jet. AOPA Editor-at-Large Dave Hirschman shows us what it's like to own and fly a piece of naval history.
This isn't your average Skyhawk. It's a Ta4, the training version of the military jet known as the Scooter by the Navy and Marine pilots who flew them. This is one of a very few that's privately owned, and it's been thoroughly updated and modernized. The instrument panel has a Garmin G3X flight display that should look familiar to any experimental airplane builder. The Scooter is known for its ruggedness, simplicity, and blazing performance. It was created by legendary airplane designer Ed Heinemann, who also created the Skyraider and SBD Dauntless dive bomber. The A4 was used extensively in Vietnam by U.S. Navy and Marine pilots for ground attack. U.S. Senator John McCain was flying an A4 when he was shot down and taken prisoner. The Ta4 also was used for decades as an advanced trainer, and a generation of U.S. Navy and Marine pilots used them to learn to land on ships. The Blue Angels performed in A4s for a dozen years in the 1970s and 1980s. The airplane's roll rate of up to 760 degrees per second is the quickest of any U.S. fighter. But it takes teamwork to fly it. There's no internal battery, so it needs a hover cart to start, and it consumes about 300 gallons of jet fuel per hour. A Florida company, Classic Jet Fighters of America, restored this one, and you can own it for a cool $2.45 million. And you know, that really would be cool. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
You can read more about the Ta4 in the June Turbine edition of AOPA Pilot Magazine.
So Dave Hirschman joins us now. Dave, you've flown the Sonex single-engine jet and now the Ta4. So what do you think? You had your fix on speed yet?
Well, I think like a lot of people in my generation, I was imprinted on the A4 jet.
Right.
Watching the Blue Angels fly and watching Top Gun, and so it was a real thrill and a privilege to get to take a ride in it.
Yeah, this looks like a beautiful restoration they've done.
It was an over-the-top warbird style restoration in which they've taken this tough old warbird and made it beautiful and modern.
Right. Yeah. It looks really nice. Looks like a lot of fun too. And hey, you can own one, right?
That's right. If you've got the cash and a village to support you. I mean,
right.
It requires a ground crew, and it's a team effort to fly this airplane. But wow, it is spectacular.
All right. Thanks, Dave. We mentioned Tom Cruise a bit ago. Another actor pilot is about to give up his ride. Captain John Travolta is donating his Boeing 707 to the Historical Aircraft Restoration Society in Australia. The aircraft is going home. It originally flew for Qantas, and Travolta restored it to its original livery when he bought it. Apparently keeping a 707 as a pet is a bit daunting even for a megastar.
Parlez-vous ICAO? Well, you don't have to just yet. We've told you before that the U.S. would switch to the International ICAO Flight Plan format in June. That switch has now been delayed until the fall. That's because the FAA, NAV Canada, and various vendors need a little more time to make sure everything integrates smoothly. But AOPA is encouraging pilots to start using the ICAO flight plan form now so that you can get used to it. The FAA has guides on the ICAO flight plan form, but perhaps the easiest way to make the transition is to use the AOPA Online Flight Planner. Just select the appropriate drop-downs under the Aircraft Information tab, and the flight planner will automatically fill in the correct ICAO codes.
And speaking of the AOPA Flight Planner, we have some updates to tell you about. It's going to make your flight planning and briefings even easier.
So the version 2.6 of the Flight Planner we just released on Tuesday of this week. It includes an integration, a long-awaited integration with Leidos Flight Service. Some people still know that as Lockheed Martin Flight Service. Others may know it as 1-800-WX Brief. All the same company. So we've got an integration with that. And also, we have built a new interactive graphical briefing. This allows members or users who are using the Flight Planner to brief their route, but then interact with all the different elements in the briefing on the actual map. So you can click on things to get details, you can hover over things to make them pop out a little bit, and you can browse the briefing in a visual way instead of just in a textual way.
And all that means is that you'll get the same graphics and text as the flight service specialist in the same order as they present it to you. So you can follow along and see exactly what they are seeing. And there are a lot more features to make your life easier. You can find the AOPA Online Flight Planner on our website under the Go Fly tab. And it is pretty amazing what they've done with that thing, I got to say. I use it a lot.
It is, and we've wanted for years for the briefer to be able to see what the pilot sees,
Right.
so it's
Progress.
great.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for places to flight plan to, we have a new web feature for you. It's called Destinations, and there are all sorts of cool places you can visit with your airplane.
These destinations are amazing. We have a list of luxury dude ranches all over the West, and most recent our series is island flying, but you don't have to go to the Bahamas or Caribbean. We've got it broken out from New England to the Chesapeake Bay, from the Outer Banks down to Georgia, and even island hopping in the Great Lakes.
Alyssa and her team will be adding several new destinations each week, so it's worth checking the website frequently. The URL is aopa.org/destinations. I think that looks like another cool product.
It does. There are lots of cool islands to go to. Mackinac, of course, Tangier out in the Chesapeake. Put in Bay and Lake Erie is one of my favorite places to go. I have really great memories of flying into Put in Bay. So anyhow, hey, when we come back, There I Was, a new podcast with some famous people.
And flying off the pavement, getting your seaplane rating. AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment.
Did you know it's now fully legal to fly your plane to Cuba? Call the experts at Cuba Handling and we'll walk you through the process. Our team will make your flight simple and will create the experience of a lifetime. From hotels to cultural experiences, we do it all. Visit CubaHandling.com.
The AOPA Air Safety Institute has just introduced a new monthly podcast called There I Was, a phrase that has a long history in aviation, and this podcast is all about making sure you have a long aviation history. The ASI team talks to various pilots about unexpected things that happened to them and how they survived it. First up, aerobatic great Patty Wagstaff.
But I remember very well, I had my friend with me, and I thought, I can't show any fear. I have to tell her that everything's okay, and I have to do this. You know, I had no choice here.
Patty had lost her bearings in Alaska and encountered instrument conditions and ice and had to figure a way out. You can find There I Was under Training and Safety, Air Safety Institute, podcasts on our website. It's also available on iTunes.
The FAA has alerted AOPA to possible issues with Piper fuel selectors. There have been several reports of the fuel selector placards being wrong on PA-28 aircraft, reversing the left and right tank indications. The correct placard should look like this, with the left tank on top. The FAA requests reports on any non-conforming placards. And aircraft owners flying behind legacy Bendix King avionics are going to have fewer repair options. In fact, only one option. Starting in July, the company is requiring that most of its older models be shipped back to the factory for repair or replacement. Local shops can't fix them anymore. Bendix King says owners should receive replacement units within a few days, and repairs will come with a longer warranty.
These folks just don't give up. The City Council in Santa Monica has voted to shorten the runway to 3,500 feet from its current length of almost 5,000 feet. They'll lop off both ends of the runway and build a new taxiway at a cost of $4 million. The city and the FAA struck a deal earlier this year to allow for the closure of the airport in 2028. However, AOPA continues to oppose any plan to close Santa Monica and is working with local pilots on ways to shore up community support for keeping it open longer. Well, if they take away your runway, you can always switch to an airplane that doesn't need one.
As summer approaches, it's a perfect time to try something new, like a Seaplane Rating. A Seaplane Rating allows you to break free from the confines of asphalt and fly places no land plane can take you.
On the lakes, I like to say we have 360 runways. You got 360 radials, and you pick the wind direction.
Today I'm flying a Cessna 185 with Brian Skanke, owner of Adventure Seaplanes. Brian and his instructors turn out many seaplane pilots every year from their locations in Florida and Minnesota. Brian is taking me through the basic maneuvers he teaches when giving seaplane instruction, and it's a good refresher for me. I got my Seaplane Rating with Adventure Seaplanes 2 years ago. So we start with a normal takeoff.
Normal takeoff, usually use 20 degrees of flaps. You clear your area before takeoff. Lift your water rudders up. Hold that all the way back, going to full power now. And once the nose comes up and rises up, it won't come up anymore. You got to release the back pressure on the yoke and then allow the nose to come over onto what position we call the step taxi. And at that point, the airplane will accelerate on we call the slippery spot or the sweet spot of the float. And at about 45 to 50 knots, this Cessna will fly right off the water on its own.
After takeoff, the airplane flies like any other, but with a little more drag. The setup for landing is similar to flying a traffic pattern at an airport.
When I turn to final, I reduce some more power, apply 30 degrees of flaps. Obviously we do our gumps check. Gases on both, good, plenty of fuel, undercarriage is up, gears up, 4 blue lights for water landing. And fly the approach about 70 knots in the 185 Cessna. And I carry about 1,500 RPMs right to the water. Makes a nice stabilized approach. Fly it down to ground effect, 10, 15 feet above the water, level it off, bleed off an extra 15 mile per hour airspeed, and then as you start slowing down, you raise the nose about 5-degree pitch up landing for touchdown.
As part of the training, you also learn glassy water procedures.
When you got no wind reference on the water, it's very hard for depth perception, almost like looking down into a mirror at times. So in that case, you don't know when to flare. So the technique we use for glassy water is we make a low approach over a shoreline, and we like to call that shoreline LVR, or last visual reference point. I like to go low approach, level it out at my LVR, and it's basically you set your pitch, you have your power set, and have a lot of patience. You just wait and you descend to the water at about 150 foot a minute descent rate. As you touch water, there's quite a bit extra drag on smooth water, so you got to be prepared for that when you touch down, not to let the nose go forward.
For seaplane students, once you master the techniques, you can schedule your check ride. No written exam required, and the whole rating can be done in just a few days.
And I like to figure about 6 to 8 hours in order to cover a good average float rating. If you want to learn more, be more advanced, you can allow a couple extra hours, 8 to 10 hours, and you're going to know how to fly the float plane very well.
Then you're ready to experience the endless adventure of seaplane flying, from skimming the lakes in Florida to searching for polar bears in Canada. And a lot of fun. It is an easy one to get. You can do it in a long weekend kind of thing and have great fun. It is amazing what you can do with a seaplane, I got to tell you.
It looks like a lot of fun.
A lot of places you can go. Well, that'll do it for us this week. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
We hope you join us again next Thursday for another edition of AOPA Live This Week.
The pilots who fly with AOPA Insurance. They love flying and saving money, just like you. At AOPA Insurance, we understand how you fly and provide the coverage you need to keep on flying. Call for a free quote and see which AOPA insurance plan is right for you.